Attorney's Office has essentially cut off the state investigations agency's access to the investigation. What is the precedent for that, and why shouldn't the Minnesota officials on the ground have access and evidence to work on this investigation?
First of all, I wish the state officials in Minnesota would investigate why you have so many people who are using their vehicles and other means to actually interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation. The precedent here is very simple. You have a federal law enforcement official engaging in federal law enforcement action. That's a federal issue. That guy's protected by absolute immunity. He was doing his job. The idea that Tim Walz and a bunch of radicals in Minneapolis are going to go after and make this guy's life miserable because he was doing the job that he was asked to do is preposterous.
And this has been a very big topic, if you guys don't know, over the last week or two. If you guys don't know about the shooting that happened in Minneapolis with the ICE agent, a lot of liberals are calling it, injustice. And I believe she did die. She did die. But on the other hand of things, people are basically saying that you F around and you find out. And she used the vehicle as a battering ram, per se, to run over or justifiably attempt to flee the scene, which caused harm or could have potentially caused harm to the federal agent, in which used deadly force back on the woman. It comes down to the accountability. It comes down to the accountability. I truly believe that when you look at the situation, right, then let's just say, for example, a lot of people, you can't really put your own spin to it. Everybody's going to have an opinion about it, but that's like me going in a police department with a loaded rifle and I'm just waving it around and I'm not expecting the police to kill me, right? In this instance, and I don't really know if the lady really was undocumented or not, or why ICE federal agents wanted any involvement with her in that particular situation. But again, if you're going to use a vehicle that weighs over 4,000 pounds and attempt to flee or run over somebody, that could be attempted murder. That could be attempted manslaughter. That is deadly force. And so as an officer, I do think there are good officers out there, but there are bad officers out there as well. But I really do think officers do have a hard time because they have to be the most patient with civilians and taxpayers that might not be the most cooperative, right? I don't care what anybody has to say. We all know that one person that has been involved with a police officer or some type of law enforcement, and they've just given them a hard time, or, you work for me, and which is true. That is true. Taxpayer dollars is what's funding, whether you're in the county level, the state level, the federal level. The taxpayer is truly funding your paycheck, but they take it to an extent to where they should be able to do whatever they want to law enforcement and not have any type of repercussions. So, me personally, if I see somebody and I'm on my job coming at me with a vehicle, I'm going to do everything I can to stay alive so I can go back home to my family. I'm sorry, that's just what it is. But this has been brewing around the country. Let's see what Grandy Judd has to say. He's a funny guy, if I personally will say so myself.
Hello, everyone. Chef Grandy Judd here. I've been asked by media outlets and several people to comment on the event that occurred in Minneapolis yesterday. Let me make one thing abundantly clear. You have to be accountable for your conduct. And that starts with the mayor. Did you hear his filthy talk? Did you hear his filthy, uninformed talk yesterday to the people not only of the city and the state, but across the nation? Shame on you. That's lack of professionalism. Now let's look at the event. The investigation is not complete. I am giving you context on the video clip that I saw, law enforcement officers, federal law enforcement officers, ICE agents, were trying to take the occupant of the car out of the vehicle. During this encounter, the vehicle backed up and then drove directly at the ICE agent. That is a deadly weapon, a 2-ton deadly weapon. So what did the occupant expect? They should have expected to be shot when you commit a deadly assault on a law enforcement officer. So let's do this.
And I'm already hearing some of you guys now in the comments, well, was there any other measures that the officer could have done? Because obviously when you shoot somebody, that could be the end. I get it. And again, we don't all know. We can only go off of what we've seen in the video. We can make the argument, could the officer just jumped out of the way? Yeah, probably so. But we're not gonna have the same thought process as everybody. We don't know what goes into their training. And again, you know, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, those officers are humans as well. That guy could have been like, oh, you're going to try to run me over? All right, fuck around and find out. Going to empty all 9 rounds into this windshield, this door, whatever, what have you, right? You're going to try to attempt to run me over. You're resisting whatever, if whether she was getting detained or arrested, and then proceed to try to run me over. You going to fuck around and find out. That could have been his mindset. That could have been his mindset, you know. So we can look at it a whole bunch of ways. We really can. But I just can't really find any like disagreement with what Grandy is saying right now.
So let's do this. Let's send out the message loud and clear. And it should start with the mayor, the police chief, the local sheriff, and the governor of Minnesota. Cooperate with law enforcement officers. Don't resist them. Don't violently resist them. If you do violently resist them, if you do felonious assaults with 2-ton weapons, expect to be shot. Hello, everyone.
Jesus. Expect to be shot. Now, mind you, this guy is in Florida, a very conservative state. They like gun laws, all kind of stuff down there, right? Good old boy, as we can see. But it's sad, man. Prayers still for the family. For the woman that obviously got shot. Minnesota has been a hot mess for a very long time. Minnesota has been in shambles for a very, very long time, and I hope they get that figured out. All I can say is they will. I'm sorry. The governor, the mayor, they're about to get y'all up out of there, buddy. They about to get y'all up out of there. And obviously, I think they protested. They're protesting now. We all know that's a whole nother video, but I'm for protest, but when you start then vandalizing people's properties and trying to make a statement that way, it's just not the right thing to do, right? Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. I love you. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. Like, comment, subscribe if you liked the video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.